This video is about proportion and problem solving with rational expressions. In this particular video, we're going to talk about problems about numbers and also similar triangles. So a proportion is two fractions that are equal to each other. So one example of a proportion might be A over B equals C over D. So it's just two fractions that are equal to each other. And this section is about word problems. So the first thing that you want to do when you're solving any word problem is you want to read it through all the way. Second thing you want to do is declare your variable. So you're going to choose what letter you want, and a lot of times we use x, so you want to write down x is equal to, and then state whatever x is. So number of pounds maybe. So you want to make this statement always so that you know what your variable is. Draw a picture or make a table when it's appropriate. Set up your equation next, and then solve the equation, and then do a check on your word problem. I won't have you check them on the test. I won't ask you to, so I won't take off any points if you don't. But it is a good idea to just kind of go back through the word problem and just decide whether or not it's reasonable. So in our first word problem, there are 170 calories in 3 peanut butter cookies. How many calories are there in 7 cookies? So the variable is always going to be what answers your question, and what we're being asked is how many calories there are in 7 cookies. So x is going to be the number of calories in 7 cookies. Now we want to set up our proportion, and we can write one fraction stating how many calories there are in 3 peanut butter cookies. That would be 170 over 3. Then when you write your other fraction, just be careful to write it in the same way. So I have calories over number of cookies in my first fraction, so I need to have calories over number of cookies in my second fraction. And the other one is how many calories in 7 cookies, and so that would be x divided by 7. When we solve these now, we want to cross multiply. So we're going to take 3 times x, or 3x, and then 7 times 70. Sorry, that was 170. I'm going to bring up my calculator so we can do this calculation. So we're going to multiply 7 times 170, and that gives us 1190. 3x is equal to 1190, and then divide both sides by 3. That will give us x is equal to, and then just hit divided by 3 in your calculators, 396.6 repeating. If I don't state how many decimal places to give your answer in, always round to 3 decimal places, or in this case, because we had a repeated 6, you can just put a bar over the 6 indicating that it repeats. So here's my bar over my 6, and this tells me that this is a repeating number. It just keeps on going forever. And this was calories. Don't forget to always label your units on things. And then with word problems, we're always going to want to answer them with a sentence. So there are 396.6 calories in 7 cookies. The next example is about similar triangles. Similar triangle means that each angle has a corresponding angle, and they're equal. So these two red angles are corresponding and they're equal. And then these two angles are corresponding angles and they are equal angles. And then these green angles are also the same angle. And so they're called corresponding angles. There's also corresponding sides. So this bottom side on this triangle corresponds to the bottom side on this triangle. This side on the right top corresponds with this right top side. and then this left top side corresponds with this left top side. And with similar triangles, you could make ratios of their sides, and any ratio of any two similar sides are equal to each other. So we could do a ratio of the red sides, and that would be equal to the ratio of the blue sides, which is equal to the ratio of the green sides. So we can make up whichever ratios we want. I'm going to make up a ratio of the red sides, so I'm going to put 14 over 18. And that's equal to, now I can pick any other two corresponding sides and make a ratio. We are trying to figure out what x is, so we're going to do the bottom sides. And I started with this triangle on the left, so I also need to start with a 28 when I write my second ratio. So it's going to be 28 over x. So again, this one was from the triangle on the left, this one was from the triangle on the right, so this has to be left over right over here as well. Now cross multiply, 14x is equal to 18 times 28. And I'm not going to pull up my calculator. Instead, what I'm going to do is divide both sides by 14. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because 14 goes into 28 twice. And so we get x is equal to 2 times 18, which is 36. And you don't really need to write a sentence when you have these similar triangle problems. Our next example, 5 divided by the difference of a number and 1 equals the quotient of 10 and the sum of the number and 12. Find the number. So the first thing that we're going to do is declare our variable, which means we're going to write x is equal to, and it's just equal to the number in this one. That's what they're asking us to find. You could use n if you'd rather use n instead of x. You just need to make sure that you state what variable you're going to use and what that variable is. So now we'll read through our word problem a little bit slower. And we have 5, and then there's an operation there, divided by. So it's going to be 5, and the divided by means we're doing division, and then whatever comes next in the word problem goes on the bottom, and it's difference of a number and 1. When it's written this way, so the difference means subtract, and you subtract in the order that the things are listed in here. And so this is listed as the number and 1, so that would be x minus 1. Next we have equals, so that's our equal sign. And the word quotient means to divide. And when you see the word quotient, it's just like when you see difference of. When you see quotient of, you divide the two things in the order that you read them in. And so the first thing is going to be our numerator, and the second thing will be our denominator. So it's the difference of 10, the quotient of 10 and the sum of the number and 12. So that will be x plus 12. Now we're going to cross multiply. 10 times x minus 1 equals 5 times x plus 12. Here we have 5 times x plus 12 and 10 times x plus 1. And notice we can divide both sides by 5 if we would like to. Sometimes this saves you a little bit of work. And so these 5's cancel, and this 5 goes into this 10 twice. So we have 2 times the quantity x minus 1 equals x plus 12. Now we can distribute the 2. That gives us 2x minus 2 equals x plus 12. Now we're going to add 2 to both sides, giving us 2x equals x plus 14, and then subtract x from both sides. So we get x is equal to 14. And then write a sentence to answer our question. The number is 14. In our last word problem here, if 3 times a number added to 5 is divided by the number plus 9, the result is 4/3. Find the number. So again, x is equal to the number. And then we're going to read this through a little bit slower. And we have 3 times a number added to 5. So this is the top of our first fraction because then we have divided by. So the top of our first fraction is going to be 3 times the number, so that's 3x, and then added to 5, so plus 5. And we're dividing by, so that's the division symbol. And the rest of it here is the number plus 9. So that would be x plus 9. And then it says the result is, that's your equal sign. And the rest of it is 4/3. Okay, so there's our proportion. To solve it, we're going to cross multiply. So we have 3 times a quantity 3x plus 5 equals 4 times a quantity x plus 9. Now we can't divide by the 3 or the 4 because they don't evenly divide one another like we had in the last example. So we're going to distribute the 3, giving us 9x plus 15, and then distribute the 4, which gives us 4x plus 36. Gather up the x's on the left, so we're going to subtract 4x from both sides, giving us 5x plus 15 equals 36. Next, we want to subtract 15 from both sides. That gives us 5x equals 21, and then divide both sides by 5. We get x is equal to 21/5. And you can just leave this as an improper fraction. You do not need to write it as a mixed number or a decimal. You can if you want to. I will accept all 3 answers, but it's not necessary. You can just leave it just like that. So the sentence is oops, wrong letter. The number is 21/5. And that is the end of the lecture about solving problems about numbers and similar triangles.